SK Gaming struggled getting kills against Unicorns of Love. He's the first AD carry ban, and the Gragas, as we talked about.
Yeah, Gragas off the table, Kog'Maw as well. The Lucian Graves, no surprises. As the timer ticks down for the third one, we have seen a fair amount of Lulu targeting away SK Gaming. It's actually going to be the Zed ban on Fox this time.
Okay.
That's what we'll see for game number 1.
So LeBlanc is open, and a lot of teams in Europe likes to early pick it if Zed is being banned away. And for H2K, it's very important they get an AP mid laner. And the reason I say this is because Odoamne mainly plays tanks in the top lane. Sion, Maokai is the 2 main picks for him. If he wants to play those picks, you cannot go for physical mid laner, because then you suddenly have pure physical damage dealers in an AD carry and a physical mid laner. That doesn't work for them. This also explains the Zed ban, because they don't want to play it themselves for that reason. Instead, you're going to see Ahri, Diana, LeBlanc. These are going to be the mid lane picks for H2K and Rio. At least that's what we expect.
Orianna possibly thrown in there too.
Could be
Depends
there
on
too.
the type of comp they want to run. With the Jinx banned away too now, so you see a couple of Hjarnan's champions being taken off the board. He's been, over the course of the split, much more preferring the likes of Sivir. But with Kog'Maw and Jinx off the table, this can prevent the insane snowballing that we've seen come out of those hyper carries.
And it's 2 hyper carries. That is the important one. 2 hyper carries. SK Gaming, when they lost to Unicorns of Love in Game 5, the game that decided who went to the final and who went to play the 3rd place match, they couldn't close out the game. They went late game. It was a Caitlyn pick for Unicorns of Love, but they went late. Vardax ended up being one of the big carries for the Unicorns, and therefore SK lost. With these 2 bans here, we know Hjarnan loves to play that style. It's taken away, but it's not completely done. There are other late game carries you can pick if you want to buff them up with a Lulu, with a Nunu for them. I mean, I've even seen Lucian being used as some sort of a hyper carry, and I know Hjarnan can play that one as well.
And now they go ahead and take away the Lulu first. I mean, this is still a pick away from nRated, but it makes me think that they might have some other tricks up their sleeves to, boost up the champions that they are going to have. Because Lulu gives you a lot of artificial tankiness. We'll see what SK answer with on their side.
It's one of the few AP top laners that
is also an option. The Janna, though, they've got that picked up, so they have a speedy disengage support. They've got a very mobile jungler now for Svenskeren in the form of Rek'Sai. I'm really curious to see how they flesh this composition out, because they haven't revealed anything just yet. That's crucial.
It's fun to see how Lee Sin was the big talking point between Unicorns of Love and SK Gaming. It was banned away in the last game because Svenskeren had just gone completely crazy on it. It's open here, but he prefers the Rek'Sai instead, showing a bit of the priority for SK Gaming, at least for now. Janna, also just a bit of a takeaway. You don't want to give Lulu Janna in a potential protect the AD carry setup. That's nearly impossible. But we also know KaSing prefers Thresh or Annie, because they give him more roaming potential in the early game, which is something he likes to use, where nRated is a support who just sits and babysits his AD carry.
Right, but with the Lulu flex pick, they have a lot of options here. They can send in support if they want, or they can put on Odoamne top. That's not going to be the case as they lock in the Maokai and the Nidalee for loulex.
Okay, so it's going to be Lulu support, unless Rio wants it in the mid lane, but he's still been focusing on the assassins mainly. He's been one of the big playmakers here in the playoffs for H2K.
I was going to say, during the regular season, it was very different. He was a bit more of a supportive style. However, then they go ahead and go a little bit different, where Rio starts stepping up into a carry role, thinking about a couple of different AD carries this time. We'll see what he goes with.
If he wants the lane dominance, he's going to go for Caitlyn. Caitlyn and Janna together is a disgusting lane to play against. You don't want to face that 2-on-2. And that's what we are, once again, expecting from the likes of SK Gaming. Because
especially here in Game 1.
They tried to play this non-lane bully style where they played passive and go late game, and it didn't work in the semi-final at all for them. Those were the games they lost. This is the SK Gaming we know. Strong early jungler, Rek'Sai, it's there. Lane bullies, okay, you have Janna, Caitlyn, one of the best 2v2 lanes possible. That's gonna take your tower if you face them, because you cannot stop them unless you start ganking them. And then also the Shyvana. While Freddy died a lot on the champion because he played over-aggressive, it's still a champion he won the lane on every single time, because she's so strong in the one-on-ones once she picks up that skirmisher saber against tanks. She's already locked in as a counterpick to the Maokai, so this is a lane controlled by Freddy. SK Gaming are back to the style we know. Expect an assassin in the mid lane from them as well.
And as was said on the desk too, this is the style that I think a lot of people expect them to go back to if they want to walk away with 3rd place in the spring split here. So far, what we expect from this team. H2K, they have a few more picks though. Hjarnan would not be surprised at all to go the Sivir. He does take it, and Ryu will lock in LeBlanc. And we have an H2K composition, Deficio.
And that's the funny thing about the SK Gaming bans here. Yes, they target their late game hyper carries for H2K, but that's not really been the main picks for them. Sivir has been the most played. Hjarnan has lost 1 game on it, and he's won 10 on this champion. It is by far his most played champion. So he's obviously happy getting this one, and you don't really hurt them too much by these 280 carry bans when Sivir is still open. It's a champion that Forgiven has not played in the LCS and seems to refuse to play it as well, so they couldn't even take it away. LeBlanc, I like it. Zed is banned, so there's no direct lane counter. There's still some good matchups against LeBlanc, and you can always argue, is it a skill matchup, the Zed LeBlanc? Of course it is. But it also means if Ahri gets locked in here for SK, LeBlanc will be able to control that, at least in the early levels. Pre-level 6, you dictate the lane. That's also why they're not going for it.
They go for the Kassadin instead.
Okay.
So pre-level 6, I still feel that LeBlanc's going to dictate that lane. However, this provides a lot of pressure around the map. SK Gaming have given themselves a number of options here. Let's see if their gambit pays off. With the compositions locked in,
okay,
this is going to be an interesting game 1.
I like the change from H2K overall if you look at their composition, because we talked about how loulex had just played Shyvana and Gragas in all his games here in the playoffs. Now he's going back to the early junglers as well to try and match Svenskeren and his aggression here. You fight him one-on-one. Nidalee is still fantastic in the small one-on-one 2v2 fights. The reason she's been picked less in Europe is because teams focus on Cinderhawk tanks, again, a bit safer, I guess you can say, when it comes to scaling to late game, where Nidalee has to make plays in the early game. But same goes for Rek'Sai on SK Gaming, because Svenskeren likes to build Warrior Enchant and not the Cinderhawk on it. So we're going to see 2 junglers here fighting it out for early pressure. Now it's in favor of H2K in the mid lane, which is important, because SK likes to roam from that mid lane to the side lanes and snowball them. They won't be able to do it on a Kassadin in the early game. Once you get that Rod of Ages, that's where you can start making some plays and start moving around.
Right, and I think that it's definitely going to be very interesting where they're matching the aggression with the aggression in the lanes, and whoever's going to come out on top of that one definitely dictates the pace of the game. Now, with the picks and bans locked in, guys, we're going to head on to the rip, but before we do, go ahead, hop on Twitter, and let us know what your predictions are going to be. Tweet at LL Esports. Of course, the hashtags H2K win or SK win. We'll be tallying those up in the game, but for now, we're about to load up onto the rift, and the crowd is definitely hyped for this one, guys. I hope you are at home. Game number 1 of this 3rd place match here in Madrid, Spain, is about to get underway. Here we go.
Let's see what happens in the early game. We know SK Gaming as a team, they struggle if they fall behind. They have to do well in the lanes. They won't be able to win that mid lane from the start, but the Shyvana and the Caitlyn Janna, strong lanes. H2K should be lane swapping here to avoid it.
Yes, indeed. I think the lane swap would be the wise decision. We'll see the action starting off already as Ryu pokes down Fox just a little bit so far, though. That is the only aggression. There will be a sapling thrown in, and Freddy's spotted as Hjarnan brings up around the side to join him. And before we get really too far into this game, we're going to go ahead and hear a bit of thoughts from KaSing on facing the strongest bot lane in Europe.
I've played the Forgiven, like just dual Q and stuff, so I understand his playstyle. And I think nRated is a really, really good support. He's really underrated by the community, I think. And it'll be hard, but I think it'll be fun. Maybe they showed some weaknesses or had some problems during playoffs, because the difference between best of 1 and best of 5 is huge. Because some players might be tunnel vision onto one thing, another player might get really tilted. There's a lot of things that can happen in best of 5s, so anything can happen.
Truer words never been spoken, I think, and these teams found out last week that anything can happen in a best of 5 Deficio. Let's see what happens in this one, though. A lot of pings flying as SK Gaming not quite sure where H2K are, but they know the vicinity. Yeah,
they know H2K invaded the jungle. They have seen the wards being placed as well. Fairly standard level 1 warding for H2K to try and spot SK Gaming's dual lane, and they're obviously gonna find out they're not on the top side and will get the lane swap we talked about. SK Gaming here trying to set up a freeze in the bottom lane. They did manage to get all the minions grouped up very quickly and just pushing on 1 or 2 of them. But normally SK decides not to freeze in a lane. So if they want to fast push it in with the likes of a Caitlyn, they want to get the tower advantage, then rotate to a dragon. And then once you have a BF sword completed for Forgiven, they look for that 2v2 lane. That's how they normally place the lane swap. Now they had another week to practice.
Well, we might very well see that. KaSing Hjarnan are actually doing a little bit of a freeze themselves, but there are two H2K members up on the top side as well. They might push this one in and swap back down.
So making the right play here. They're not going to swap down or anything. They freeze the wave because Freddy is a top laner who likes to TP up to his tower and try and sit and soak XP. Even in 2v1 lane, he's going to go for it. By freezing it, you stop that from happening from Freddy, and you force him to sit with Svenskeren and run around and farm the jungle at least. They have double smite. Shyvana is one of the greatest top laners when it comes to playing the jungle, at least, but she's also very item dependent with this smite here. First gang is on to Ryu.
Yeah, Ryu, he just hits level 3. Let's see if he can make it out alive. That would be one escape, and it looks like he'll make it. Throws the chains onto Freddy. Svenskeren there sitting with the double buffs. KaSing there to throw out a little bit of extra damage, pushes them back. We don't have first blood just yet, but there have been some serious moments of action between these two in mid lane.
So, also because SK Gaming likes to push that bottom lane with Forgiven. If you freeze top lane and you force Shyvana to come up there on her own, often what happens is you then send the support up to help her as well, so you have a 2v2 lane. By taking away nRated from this lane, then you can put your own top lane and just have a fairly standard one-on-one where Forgiven keeps pushing in the wave, so your top laner gets free farm and free XP, while the Shyvana has to fight for every single one, even with a Janna. We see SK is not adapting that style, at least early on. They're just allowing or putting Freddy on his own here. H2K needs to come and gank him because he has no flash. You can push him out of this lane so easily and deny him everything.
Right, and neither top laner now with their teleport as Odoamne goes down to do exactly what you just said, soak up that farm with a bit of help from loulex. Forgiven and nRated still pushing in on the tower. Howling Gale will miss Odoamne, but still he is able to clean some of that minion farm up. Meanwhile, up at the top, yeah, KaSing has rejoined Hjarnan. That's going to push Freddy back.
It's not the strongest gank in the world, but it's enough. Just having 2v1 to push him away. He cannot take these greedy trades as an early or a under-leveled Shyvana, I guess we can say.
Little drag.
Instead. And SK Gaming style, it's so funny how they value getting gold for themselves and they don't care about you. Like, you can get all the farm you need. That's fine, as long as we get what we want. That's the SK Gaming mentality. So that's why they always push in the waves, and they will take your tower, and they don't care about your top laner getting 450 CS from it. It often, or can end up backfiring for them. Here's a gank.
A backfire. Fox still sitting on level 4 right now. KaSing, as you mentioned, not the most effective of ganks, but they do force Fox back. loulex was hanging around the backside as well, and he's just going to go ahead and keep clearing through his jungle. But enough pressure towards the middle and on the bottom side means SK can't attempt the dragon or anything else right now.
No, I would really prefer still, though, if you just value denying Freddy farm and XP top lane, because then your top laner gets such an advantage because he keeps getting the waves here. But with KaSing roaming to mid lane, yes, okay, he shows that you cannot start an easy dragon right now, but he also allowed Freddy to get back and at least get some XP and CS. The wave is pushing in for H2K now on the top side. KaSing is there to try and zone him away, but Freddy has already gotten a little bit more than he probably should have for them.
Yeah, he's been keeping pretty well paced with Odoamne. The jungle on the bottom side pretty bare, as has been visited by both loulex and Svenskeren. Finds out as he tunnels his way through. They may be looking to dive onto the tree, but Odoamne
has a ward
safe
as well.
Back enough for now.
Yeah, and look what they're trying to do as well, H2K here. Because now they know Odoamne is level 5, he's got a ruby crystal, he's fairly tanky. Diving him is somewhat risky for SK, so they can leave him. That means suddenly the focus is on the top side. They don't care about this dragon being taken. They want to push away Freddy from this big wave, take the tower as well, and then swap down to the bottom side before SK can take a tower. And suddenly, yes, you lost the dragon, but you have a gold advantage from the lane swap. So that's going to be the strategy for H2K here. Push this one in, get this tower down, and go down here before Forgiven takes the bottom lane.
Now with the dragon picked up, #1 going over to SK, they may have to kick it into high gear with taking this tower and moving down bottom. Hjarnan and KaSing still trying to deny the minion farm so that Freddy can't get much back as he had already gone back to base. They will just let that wave run out, proxy a little bit of the minions before retreating home. But I think this tower is going to be gone pretty soon. Svenskeren sitting there on the Krugs. Odoamne is going to spot him thanks to that ward, and he backs off. Looks like we could be in for a trade.
Oh, we can see how loulex is trying to come down and save the tower. It's very clear what H2K is trying to do. I think SK will be able to take this one on the next wave, and therefore will even it out. Get the dragon as well. The only loss for SK is some farm and XP on Freddy, which can be important. I mean, he's gonna be this split pushing threat on a Shyvana. But later we go into the game, once he gets the skirmish, is safer.
Ryu, he's gonna dash, but he's ignited in there. Pops his passive. He's gonna burn his flash as well. And it looks like Ryu has made the master escape this time.
This time, had to use the summoner though. Nothing being blown from SK except for one offensive summoner in the mid lane, the Ignite. loulex in here to defend now. Important
Should
thing
be able
is
to hold this Kassadin off for now.
that Forgiven got to go back. He had his BF sword already. He gets a second Doran's Blade where there's only boots on the side of Hjarnan. And this lane is still in favor of SK. So once they go back to the 2v2 lane, look for them to put a lot of pressure, push H2K out of the lane, and then suddenly you can roam to a mid lane and start pushing down another tower while moving between the lanes for SK. So they're going to have the early pressure simply because of this Caitlyn pick still being very, very strong. Mid game is obviously where it falls off, but we're not there yet.
Right, we talked about how this is not a lane that Hjarnan and KaSing wanted to take straight up, especially not when they don't have a tower to fall back to. We'll see what happens with that one, but for now, Odoamne back up in the top lane as the swap is completed. Still not sitting too far behind on the farm. Hjarnan takes a lot of damage, spell shield burned through and raided there to try and poke him out while Forgiven was soaking on the damage, and loulex hanging around in the bottom side. Let's see if he can bait Forgiven into a bad situation.
Ryu is roaming as well. They're all moving down. They're going to be spotted by multiple wards.
So low here too.
TP as well. There's going to be a 5 versus 2 in the bottom lane. They really want to kill this Caitlyn.
Yeah, they do. Oh, the heal is popped immediately. The chase is on though as they get on the hunt. 2 flashes burned from SK's bot lane, and they just get out of dodge. H2K pick up nothing.
Yeah, but look at the adaptation here for H2K. They had pushed in the top wave, so there was no threat for Fred at least getting instant damage. He will still be able to push it down. Svenskeren can even join after taking a blue buff and punish H2K for investing 5 guys on the bottom side. Yes, they got a few flashes, but SK can definitely turn this in their favor.
They certainly can. Svenskeren now going on a bit of an invade of his own as he heads into H2K territory to grab himself a blue buff. He will secure it, and no contest available. Odoamne taking his place back up in the top to try and push back the mini wave that's been there. Meanwhile, Ryu continues to try and fend off Fox in the mid lane. We'll see how that goes in just a moment.
Losing this blue buff is fairly important because LeBlanc will have problems clearing the waves and keep her mana up. So this goes back to the whole, if SK pushes in the bottom lane now with the Caitlyn, who will be stronger than the Sivir, and then rotate to mid lane, you can drain the mana for LeBlanc very, very easily. And that can set up a potential dragon. It can even set up for a mid tower going down. Let's see how SK decides to play this one now that they already denied the buff. loulex is gonna notice. He probably already knew from the whole invade.
Well, now he does for sure. KaSing still trying to harass and harangue Fox, but the damage just isn't that much. nRated roves around as well. The vision game is fairly strong from both teams in this side of the river, but SK are the ones that had already secured the dragon. It's going to be 2 more minutes before the next one comes up. loulex clearing out that pink ward, hops into the Baron pit to avoid Svenskeren.
And we see H2K trying to read the play that SK could have made in a minute's time or so by sending Janna and KaSing mid already to just keep pushing it in. So you no longer rely on the LeBlanc as the solo wave player in here, who will, again, as we said, have problems keeping the mana up. Instead, you just put Hjarnan here, you get him out of that 2v2 lane, and Kassadin doesn't provide any proper wave there to defend his tower. So with a Nidalee who can poke and heal up your AD carry to buffer attack speed, you can push it in over and over. And if SK ever leaves this mid lane, tower will take quite some damage. And that's how H2K is trying to respond before SK can make a play.
Yeah, making plays, though, is what Odoamne is trying to do solo. He jumps onto Freddy 1-2-2, but not a whole lot of damage. We usually call that one the wet noodle fight. Well, 2 big tanks just battering at each other. That's another way to describe it. For now, it hasn't really yielded much. Svenskeren looking to come up through the mid, but he's spotted out by a pink ward. Hjarnan and KaSing look to push him back from that one as they pop another in there. It's going to be swept away very quickly. Oh, not quite.
Now it's gone. And SK putting Forgiven now back in this mid lane, or back for the first time in the mid lane, as he already pushed the bottom side. So we can very clearly see what both teams want to do. One is trying to defend simply, and one, SK Gaming, is trying to be the proactive one. He's trying to be the one forcing your towers down with this Caitlyn. Use her while she's still strong, because that's why she's considered by some AD carries in Europe a good pick right now, is because you can create that big goal lead in the early game, so you skip your own weak mid game because you get 2, maybe even 3 items completed fairly fast, and then you already hit a late game point where she, of course, is fantastic. Again,
Yeah, trying to make up for
but you have to
the deficits.
get these towers down. You have to get this gold here, otherwise it takes too long.
They also could very well use this next dragon buff. Looks like no one's going to be taking it right away. Odoamne moving up to the top side. Just Freddy has the teleport off of cooldown. Odoamne is going to have a little bit more time before that happens. Ryu makes his move solo through the river, but it is SK Gaming that are massing up by the dragon once again. H2K not responding to this one. They look like they may be more interested in trading the mid tower. And
we have seen two different warding tactics from the teams. SK Gaming has invested most of their wards in the river itself or into the entrance of the jungle of H2K. So that's a bit more aggressive. They get to see where H2K is moving before they can set up any plays. While H2K has had defensive warding for most of the time. They've had pink wards in their own jungle to see if there was any invades from Svenskeren. So they've been, again, the passive ones. And that's also why SK Gaming can set up control around the dragon so easily and just pick it up as soon as H2K is not in position to contest it.
Right, and not only that, H2K didn't really respond to it. It looked like for a moment they might be pushing up in the mid, but they backed off, let the minions do their thing, and as a result, really got nothing for it. So 2 dragons to none is the score for SK Gaming, 13.5 minutes on the clock. Hjarnan and KaSing still pushing back waves in the middle, but SK seem to be, well, even on gold. A slight comfortable position thanks to those dragon buffs.
Oh yeah, 2 dragons to 0. Standard SK Gaming style.
They typically get 3 in a row. I mean, it's been very common for them to pick those up almost uncontested just because they know when and where to go to pick those.
They are the team with won the most games by getting 5 dragons, simply as it is. 6 games has been with them getting every single one, get to 5 dragons, and then simply go close it out. Not offer a single one to the other team. So you always have to be careful, and you know the focus for them is on these dragons here now up in this top lane. Skirmish the Saber has been completed. Suddenly Shyvana can really start pushing it down so fast, and losing your top turret against the Smite top laner is so risky because now it opens up for you to push the wave down to the tier 2 tower and move into your jungle, start taking away your Grom, take away the Raptors, potentially even a red buff, and then you start denying the enemy jungler so much farm from it, and you can so easily rotate from the top lane down towards the mid lane and collapse on whoever's standing there defending, and slowly but surely your towers start dropping, you get pushed further and further back near your own base.
Right, and that's even, of course, assuming Svenskeren's left anything in that side of the jungle to begin with. He's been very heavily invading to try and push this one back. Forgiven takes a whole heap of damage. I think twice about going back to that one, but the Janna shield is on, the wave is cleared, and Svenskeren keeps pushing them around the side. Hjarnan pops the spell shield, but wasn't in position to save Ryu from the ace in the hole. As Fox moves around the side, again H2K are foiled, trying to push this first turret in the mid.
Yeah, and SK Gaming with the Caitlyn, with the Janna, doing the best they can to defend. They knew they had a Kassadin who couldn't hold the tower, so we just put him on the bottom side. H2K did the same with their mid lane. Okay, he's not going to defend the tower against an AD carry. Swap him down to an empty lane, let him pick up some farm, and then we start roaming in. And we see who can get a group of 4 guys first to at least get some damage on the tower, and we just slowly chip it away. It goes for both teams here. If you look at the mid towers, H2K's is down to 60%. The one from SK is down to 40%. So they've just been slowly getting a few hits on them every time they can. And now if you're out of position, you will lose your tower.
Quite easily. A decent-sized mini-wave comes through, and a lot of members of SK Gaming here as Hjarnan takes some serious damage. This tower's gonna go down. On the hunt is Bot, looking for Forgiven. They won't find him. Hjarnan, oh, Svenskeren comes forward and picks up first blood. He might have gone a little too far, but H2K too squishy. In comes the Dragon's Descent. Odoamne equalizes the kill score on Svenskeren, but loulex and Odoamne now have to back off. It is 1-for-1. But SK Gaming got the better of that one, a tower and some serious damage.
Yeah, they got the tower. That's the important one for them. They've been working on it for quite some time, and they got the first blood as well for themselves and Svenskeren. Now you're just on to the next tower. I mean, your AD carry was left untouched. There's no wave to the left for H2K either. Well, why not just push on another one, Pyra?
Yeah, there's no reason not to, Deficio, and that's exactly what they're going to do. With the damage output they've got, it's going to be easy peasy SK Gaming. Ryu going forward, though. Forgiven may have stayed too long, but it's fairly obvious which one's the fake LeBlanc there. Now Freddy's going to finish the job he started in the top side. Just like that, SK Gaming, 4 turrets to 1.
Such a big goal in. Let's see it again. H2K had to walk around the river through their own Raptor cap to get it to defend. That's why they're late, lost it, and then with the great start for SK, getting a kill onto the AD carry. And what they're doing now is chasing just to keep poking you down. So you have to go back to base, and opens up this tier 2 tower. I mean, Forgiven, as we said, didn't even take any damage. Just give him a Janna shield, go on to next tower, pick it up as well. 3k gold lead now for SK. 4 towers down. You can now start invading into the enemy jungle, and you can now keep pushing down every single lane and quickly rotate between them, or just take a tier 2 tower if it's left undefended.
Precisely, and on H2K's side, it's been very, very difficult for them to really counteract these movements of SK Gaming. They haven't been given an opening to take any towers after the first up top. The Dragon has been firmly controlled by SK. Ryu will do a nice little snipe away on the Scuttle Crab. That will buy them a little bit of vision when they choose to go in that direction. Now, KaSing Ryu will join Hjarnan in this middle, but SK still there to mount a defense, and they just can't get any auto attacks off, letting the minions do the work, but it's only chipping away.
And this is not good for H2K. Ryu trying to get a pick again, being water away now, but if H2K cannot start getting anything, any kind of gold, Shyvana is going to become impossible to deal with in the split push. We know the Caitlyn late game and the Kassadin late game as well from SK Gaming. So with them getting such a good early game, they might never hit a weak point. What they're trying to do here as well in the Kassadin is you go Athene's second. And the reason you do this is because with the new Kassadin, your ulti, the cooldown obviously has gone down a lot. I mean, at level 11, rank 2, it's 4 seconds. At level 16, it's 2 seconds. So you can spam your ulti so much, but it costs a lot of mana. What you're doing here is because Athene's gives you 30% mana back if you get a kill or an assist, because your W, when you hit a champion with your melee attack from it, gives you missing mana back as well. And because you have Dangerous Game, which is 5% from masteries, you get so much mana back from 1 kill or 1 assist as a Kassadin that you can drain your mana pool when the fight starts and get this kill and then keep jumping around.
Talking about the fight starting right now, the Dragon, begun by SK Gaming. You saw a couple attempts by Ryu to pick off Forgiven, but they were unsuccessful. Odoamne going in on Forgiven. That is going to be the Dragon secured thanks to Ryu. The Monsoon's out on nRated, but SK are scrambling around here. Ryu is going to go extremely low. Fox will polish him off with an ult sphere. Let's see what happens after this. A double kill is picked up. Ryu, Hjarnan, loulex all down. KaSing, they've gotten the Dragon, but they're going to pay dearly for it. That's a triple kill on a Kassadin. And Odoamne, it's going to go down. That's the ace. Svenskeren picks it up. SK Gaming, 5 kills traded for the Dragon.
Yeah, we're 19 minutes in here. 2 Dragons for SK. Massive goal lead. They just got an ace as well here. H2K tried to take the fight. Baron has just spawned, and this is how we welcome Baron, by killing him.
And why the hell not? Let's take a look at how this fight started. They try to jump in. The ace in the hole pushes loulex back. The Dragon aggroing everyone, but then...
Look at your minimap here. Shyvana is behind H2K, so when they engage in, there's a perfect flanked option for Freddy. Meanwhile, Forgiven, despite being targeted by Odoamne, gets away, doesn't really take a whole lot of damage from it. And now it's just cleanup time. The Kassadin can start jumping around. There was no CC to lock him down. Freddy came in from behind as well. H2K are too far behind. They have 0 damage, and there are too many carries from SK. They have to lock down at once.
Way too many carries for them, and they may have been able to secure the Dragon. A bit of a mistimed smite from Svenskeren, but nonetheless, an ace picked up that the Baron on top. Talk about turning a situation to your advantage. With that, SK secure themselves a 7,000 gold lead on top of everything else. And look at that score on that Kassadin. 3-0-3. Completed the Athenes. Yeah. Now he has a needless. Talk about a number of carries, Deficio.
Now you go for that Hourglass. Other build paths, you can go Rod of Ages into Kodak into Hourglass if you want that, but now he had to go for the Athenes for himself. And just look at the team fights now. Try and pay attention to the Kassadin. If he goes in for 3 or 4, 5 quick ultis with the low cooldown, yes, he's going to be out of mana, but it doesn't matter because by that time you should have secured a kill or an assist, and you get such a sick amount of mana back. It just flies back up and you get another jump. Even though it cost 800 mana at that time, you can still do it because it should secure you another kill or assist. And that's the way you want to play this one. It is also a way to make up for your fairly weak mid-game normally. In this case, or early to mid-game, because now you simply use your ulti as your main damage source.
Now with that, H2K are going to find it very, very hard to fend off the attacks. This bottom lane starting to be sieged on as Ryu jumps in, jumps out, takes some damage for his trouble with the Baron-empowered minions just chipping away once again. H2K find themselves very, very far behind, just not able to do anything, and it really comes down to SK's superior team fighting in that case. Yes, it was easier to do when they had such an advantage, but they executed it flawlessly after giving up the Drake. We'll see what they're able to do here in this 4v4.
And SK Gaming has been controlling that river all game long. So every time a dragon was spawning, SK Gaming were in the better position. They had the vision down. They knew that they could basically decide the fight. So here when H2K said, okay, we cannot risk giving them 5 dragons. We have to go for some sort of fight here. We have to try and make a comeback. Otherwise, the game is just going to run away from us anyway. Then SK Gaming could see everything. We saw Freddy coming in from the side as well. It was just a perfect setup for them. And a Kassadin going crazy in the fight.
Well, everyone tunnel visioned onto Forgiven. Fox was able to creep up on them and just do a serious amount of damage. This tower starting to take more. In comes Odoamne, and let's see if they get pushed back. The Dragon's Ascent comes down. Forgiven staying alive as he picks off loulex, taking down the kitty Hjarnan, trying to run away, but he's popped up by Svenskeren. Freddy chasing through Odoamne, trying to frontline if he can. Svenskeren is down. Freddy is tanking the tower. Can H2K push him back? It looks like it. The tower may not do it, but Odoamne will. But in comes Fox. They're gonna pick them all up. A double kill in. Can he pick the triple? He just might. nRated throws the ignite. They're following through. A triple kill. They don't even care about the towers. Down goes nRated, but Fox has come up with another triple kill, and they're gonna get nibs.
The fact you don't even have to worry about how many stacks on your ulti you have as a Kassadin, that you can keep jumping as long as you secure a kill, makes him so good in these fights if you don't lock him down instantly. Once again, focus was on Forgiven at first. He stayed alive. Yes, okay, SK went a little bit over greedy. Walked under the tower. We're only 23 minutes into the game. Nobody can really tank it up. But they still managed to get more kills. Let's see it again. Engage coming from Odoamne. He's gonna flash onto Forgiven. And nRated is here to try to protect him together with the rest of SK. He stays alive. They get the first kill on loulex as well. Everything been invested onto this Caitlyn. SK Gaming decides we can go for the chase here. Dive on the tower. Sadly for them, it's the wrong people tanking it first. And then H2K managed to simply just kite back, buy a bit of time, use the tower as much as possible. But the turnaround is still that we're gonna have a Kassadin who just refuses to run out of mana because every time he gets the kill, he gets enough for another ulti.
Right, as we see it right here, Freddy finally ends up going down. The flash
gotta see him in slow
Fox
motion
just says, that's okay, I can clean up in the blink
Still full
of
mana.
an eye.
Okay, so he jumps again. It costs 800 mana at this point, but it doesn't matter for him because he knows he's gonna secure a kill. Boom, goes back up to 50%. That's another jump. KaSing flash away, and that's why he didn't get the kill.
So they get even more. You take a look at Fox on your screen. Again, H2K have been tunneling their vision onto Forgiven. They've neglected this Kassadin. Now they just can't touch him. The fancy footwork, rift stepping all over this H2K squad.
And SK Gaming might be the first team to beat H2K when they play Maokai. They're 8-0 on this champion in the top lane. It's been the main pick for Odoamne. He's been so good on these tanks. But because SK Gaming has secured such a massive lead, even from the laning phase with these early towers going down, and because that Shyvana as a counter pick to it who could win the lane one-on-one and even take a tier 1 tower for it, H2K has never gotten to a point where Odoamne can be a big tank.
Right, they've been stuck in, you know, in this mid-game, this now later mid-game, while SK Gaming, they've just been able to barrel forward and just pick up a number of items, stack themselves up. Not just the Kassadin, but he is an integral part of this killing squad. And SK Gaming, you know, they're doing what they've done best this split, and they've gone back to the basics, but they've done it with some new champion choices, and this is how it's working for them.
The only difference is they didn't have a lane bully in the mid lane who could win the lane and then roam to the side lanes. That's the only difference for SK Gaming and the side. The rest, Caitlyn, Janna, have fun 2v2. Shyvana top lane, fantastic, strong, as we mentioned multiple times.
And also, H2K did not starve Freddy of farm. They pushed him back a number of times, but they weren't able to keep the farm from coming to his doorstep.
They had a situation where they could decide, say, okay, are we gonna leave Odoamne on his own in the bottom lane, and then we try and focus purely on a no-flash Shyvana top lane, zone her away from everything, take her tower as well, and simply set her so far back, because remember, she has to build Skirmisher's Saber to use the Smite, to use the Cinderhulk, so her item build is very expensive. They didn't do that. They allowed Freddy to get quite a lot of farm in that lane. And meanwhile, they still lost the tower on the bottom side. So SK Gaming didn't really lose anything in the swap, except for maybe 10, 12 CS on Freddy. And then also with these early dragons that they managed to pick up, they forced, or somewhat forced, H2K into a fight, which ended up being an ace for them because they had no vision around it and they just felt forced to go for it. SK here, double ping ward, and the reason they do this is obviously, or triple even.
Ping ward, yeah.
Normally teams, if they're so far behind, they try like a ward outside of the Baron pit, just around the corner here to see if they can spot something. That's completely cleared away. Triple pink from SK. That's even a change. SK Gaming buying pink wards.
Yeah, they really seem to have learned something or other here. Fox now caught out isolated from the team as they attempt to take this Baron. It's going to really be forgiven though, picking up loulex up by the Baron as they turn the aggression around. Fox deciding not to go back on this one, see if he can make the play with his team, but they may not even need him right now. Odoamne being chased out. SK Gaming push them all back. There is no smite for another 20 seconds. Let's see if they attempt this Baron once again. Meanwhile, bot lane.
Yeah, super minions are coming in again. SK Gaming is just trying to pull H2K out of their own base and let the super minions do some work. There's no TP for Freddy, so don't expect any kind of backdoor.
Oh, that is the whole
happening.
damage. My goodness.
Yeah, we never really hit the, oh, Caitlyn, she's weak in the mid game.
No, it completely skipped.
Almost sitting on 3 items completed. BT coming in next for Forgiven.
It's sub 30 minutes right now. We'll see what happens here as they maneuver around the Baron pit, clearing out the wards as they go. Make sure that H2K is completely in the dark. Hjarnan, meanwhile, trying to push in the mid. They still haven't taken this tower down. Oh, that damage out of Freddy with the burnout after he throws down the challenging smite. And SK Gaming right back at this Baron again. We'll see if H2K's got anything left in the tank to respond to it. The chase is on. Dragon's Descent onto loulex. Hjarnan, he's going to pop his heal. Has to go flash. There's the inhibitor coming back up, but it may be too little too late. A double kill from Fox. Odoamne isolated from the pack is forgiven. Picks up Ryu. Odoamne's going to go down. KaSing, the only one safe for now. Maybe I spoke too soon, or maybe not. Fox comes through, and so does KaSing. Another ace. This time, SK Gaming are eyeballing the end of the game.
Such a nice game from SK Gaming. They had everything under control. We saw them swapping around early on to avoid the early pushes, to make sure the Kassadin could farm. And you know what? It all paid off. 29 minutes in.
29
H2K.
and a half, you're right. H2K down a game. SK Gaming back to basics, and they look dominant.
I just love this Kassadin build so much. I mean, even late game,
You've been talking about it all week, I can tell.
you get 40% cooldown reduction late game, and then your ulti has a base cooldown of 2 seconds at rank 3. How do you stop that man from just jump, 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 jump? Oh, here's some more mana. In the end as well, your Netherblade, I believe it gives like 40% missing mana back if you hit a champion with it. Athene's 30%, 5% for masteries. That's amount of mana means you can always go for the next one, always go for the next one. And it really worked for them. But we have to go back to early game here. Because it's not about the team fighting power. Okay, that was great. But early game was where we saw the big lead being pulled from SK Gaming. Had the stronger laning phase, in the side lanes at least. And as we mentioned, not really trying to deny Freddy a whole lot. Up in that top lane, they seemed to be happy trading towers.
Which is strange considering that they gave up their bottom side control. They just ceded that over to SK and Forgiven and nRated, and it not only resulted in the dragons that we're used to seeing from them, but from there, SK just seemed to have the game under wraps. H2K was forced to dance to their tune, and it really ended up being the death of them.
And we just saw a very defensive approach from H2K with the warding. It was never in the river. It was always just in the entrance to the own jungle. So SK Gaming could freely move around in the river here, near the dragons, and just take it whenever there was a chance. And that really set H2K so far behind as well.
Yeah, some fantastic warding from SK Gaming this time around. Now that's game 1 in the books. To break that one down